Hello there. Today, I would like to talk to you about The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Sorry about this cover. This is not the cover that I would like to show to you, especially because the characters in this book would love it if they had clothes as good as that. In the book, they are dressed in sheets and blankets that the main character, the man, has to keep finding clothes to use. And most of the time he's using bed sheets and bed linen to fashion clothing from. They didn't have nice parkas like that. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. It is the story of the unnamed man traveling with the unnamed boy who is his son. They are traveling across the American roads, pushing a shopping cart, searching for food. We are in a post-apocalyptic landscape. It is constantly snowing, this dirty, ashy snow, and they have been doing it. They have been living this way for several years. I think at one point in the book, I think he mentions that it has been 2 years. No, that can't possibly be true. But somehow that, in my mind, it is 2 years. They are traveling south, trying to get down to the coast, and they're just trying to get to southern America, hoping that it will be warmer because they're always freezing cold. Now, some people say that it is not clear why they are in this post-apocalyptic environment. I think it is quite clear that there's a nuclear war. Something happens, there are some distant explosions, and all the power goes out, and even his watch stops. And I think we know that it's ridiculous how this is so prevalent in modern culture, but I think we are all aware of this EMP, this electromagnetic pulse, which just fries all of the electrical equipment, which is said to happen from a nuclear war or nuclear weapons being detonated. That is what happens. His first reaction is that he immediately starts filling up the bathtub. And his wife says, "Are you having a bath?" And he says, "No, it started." We assume that he's filling up the bathtub with water because he understands that very quickly there will be no clean drinking water available. The man and the boy pushing the shopping cart, trying to stay alive, trying to avoid anyone else on the road, because after this long nuclear devastation and apocalypse, the only people left, the majority of them have become cannibals. They are hunting other people for meat. All the animals are gone. They've all died naturally, or not naturally, they've died from nuclear fallout, or eaten, and now they're hunting the people who are left. So that is it, pushing the cart, trying to stay alive, trying to find any remaining food that is left, trying to stay hidden and not become the victims of these roaming gangs. It's really horrifying. There's an early scene where they do meet one of these traveling cannibals. They have to run and escape from one of them. See, the book reads very much like a thriller. One of these gang members has just gone into the forest to have a piss. He's stumbled upon the man and the boy, and the man pulls out his pistol and says, "If you make a noise, I'm going to shoot you right between the eyes." And the man is saying, "Oh, you should come back to the truck. Your boy looks sick. We've got a doctor back there." He says, "If you say anything, you're a dead man." The tension and the excitement is just incredible. One of the things about the book is that nearly all of it is a very black, depressing despair of just pushing forward while starving. There's a lot of that. There's this bit where, see, I don't know American geography very well, but he has to get over a very high pass at some point. I'm not sure. Like in my mind, I was imagining somewhere like Denver, because I know that Denver is the mile-high city, right? Very high above sea level. There are no names of any cities at all mentioned. They're going south, they're trying to get to the coast, wondering what the ocean will look like and if it will be warmer, if their chances of survival will be higher. I remember the first time I read this book, that I read it in the summertime. I distinctly remember that because even though the weather might be quite warm, humid, hot, when I read The Road for the first time, I felt cold. I felt a coldness coming out of the book because the characters are freezing cold. Like they are always desperately trying to get the wood to make a fire, and they have to make a fire in like quite hidden so that any of these roaming killers might not see the smoke from a great distance and come and eat them. The few minor things that they have to do to survive, to stay warm and to try to find something to eat is harrowing. This book really pulls you right in, and you can feel the utter, nearly hopeless desperation that is going on here as these characters want to stay alive. An amazing book, very easy to read. You can read the whole book in a couple of days. The only reason you might not read it faster is because it's a bit heavy. It's quite heavy. A lot of people say that the book is very depressing. I don't feel it's depressing. I just feel that it's very, like, it weighs on you because their situation is so precarious throughout the novel. There's one bit, I don't want to give it away, but there's one bit where they get lucky and it is so wonderful. There's this moment, they have this good fortune, and for a short while, everything is looking up. It doesn't last very long though. But when you're reading that part, it's like, oh, that's fantastic. You realize it's right in the middle of the book so that, well, it's not going to last for long, but it's not only that the situation is so dangerous, it's also that the circumstances are so disgusting. Shall I tell you? There's one point where they come across a house where this gang of cannibals lives, and they discover in the cellar of the house they are keeping humans as a kind of livestock. It's a very brief scene. To dwell on how it came to be and why it is the way it is presented is really grotesque. These humans are keeping those humans to eat them later. And they know it. It's truly horrifying. Now, once upon a time, used to know someone who was very clever, extremely intelligent, actually. She read the book after I read the book. I lent it to her. And she came back to me and I said, what did you think? She said, oh, it's so awful. I said, yeah, but it is, like, it's a great book. I said, what makes it so awful though? You know, they're desperate, but they keep pushing forward. And she said to me something that really I disagreed with at the time, but over the years, I agree with her more and more. She said, what makes it so awful is that the little boy is not real, a figment of his imagination, which he uses to keep pushing himself forward. And I said, no, that's not true. The little boy is real. And I think a lot of people out there are probably saying, no, that's totally wrong. The little boy is definitely real. Try to put aside the fact for a moment that you want the little boy to be real. I know, because we get very much attached to the little boy in the story because he's young and hopeful, whereas the man is jaded and bitter, and often he's asking himself, hey, why do we keep going on living? Like, it seems that the only reason the man wants to keep living, he wants to give up, he wants to commit suicide, he realizes that it's pointless, but for him to commit suicide, he would first have to kill the little boy, and he can't do that. He can't bring himself to do it, so he has to keep living himself for the little boy. This is the third time I've read the book. I have to agree with this friend of mine. I don't think the little boy exists. I think the little boy is the voice of the man's conscience. So there is a scene in the book where at one time there was the man and his wife and their son. And the wife was arguing with him, saying there's no point staying alive. We should kill ourselves and just not go through this ridiculous agony, not go through this charade, not try to stay alive. There's no point in staying alive to die bitterly. Like, death is the only thing waiting for us, and there's no point in prolonging it. Let's do it. He doesn't want to. And so she goes off and kills herself, leaving him alone with the little boy. The next day, the little boy wakes up and he doesn't ask, where's mom? He doesn't say, where did she go? He just packs up and they get ready to continue. And I believe that is because the little boy is the voice of his conscience. He wakes up the next day. He realizes she has made a good, logical decision in killing herself. She made the right choice. And he decides to continue living out of fear, or doesn't want to kill himself, wants to keep trying, hoping that something will appear, some magical salvation will make itself evident. He cannot kill himself. And the little boy is the symbol of that and just continues pushing and walking and starving. So there's this bit on page 85. He pushed the cart onto the road and stood there. He could see the tracks of the truck through the wet ash, faint and washed out, but there. He thought that he could smell them. The boy was pulling at his coat. "Papa," he said. "What?" "I'm afraid for that little boy." "I know, but he'll be all right." "We should go get him, Papa. We should get him and take him with us. And we could take the dog. The dog could catch something to eat." "We can't. And I'd give that little boy half of my food." "Stop it. We can't." He was crying again. "What about the little boy?" he sobbed. "What about the little boy?" So we have this argument between the little boy, his conscience, and the man, because it's not the little boy who thinks he's seen another little boy. It's the man who thinks he's seen a little boy. And he's telling himself, we could find this little boy and take him with us, with me. And then one side of him says, no, I can't do that. I'm trying to keep myself alive and it's bad enough. And his conscience is saying, I would give him half of my food and we'd keep him alive and we'd keep him with us. And then his hard, brutal, realistic side says, no. Even if we could find that little boy, we might have seen, we might not have seen, we can't take him with us. It's impossible. It's not an argument between him and his son. It's an argument with his own morality about what to do in this situation. The boy lay with his head in the man's lap. After a while, he said, they're going to kill those people, aren't they? Yes. Why do they have to do that? I don't know. Are they going to eat them? I don't know. They're going to eat them, aren't they? Yes. And we couldn't help them because they would eat us too. Yes. And that's why we couldn't help them. Yes. Okay. That is the man talking to himself. Why couldn't we help those people? Those are the people I told you about who are in the cellar, who will be eaten. Why couldn't we help those people? Because we would have been caught and we would be eaten too if we tried. And again, it's an argument with his own, should I have tried to help those people? I would have died if I had done that. It's not a conversation between two people, it's just with himself. Now I admit there's a lot of scenes where it does seem like there are two people. Like there's a scene where he goes swimming out to a boat and he's looking at the little boy on the beach, making sure that he's still there. But is he looking at a little boy or is he just checking that his stuff, his little stash, is still there? You know, I don't want to say, and I can't say, of course, I can't say 100% that there's no little boy, but I think it is something very much worth considering. Is the little boy meant to be read as the voice of his conscience? Something in his mind that he is using to keep pushing himself forward and to keep surviving in the face of the end of the world environment, basically. Now, after saying all of that, the book itself is a work of art. Cormac McCarthy is the greatest living American author by far. I don't even know who the runner-up might be in this category. He writes with such a ferocity and such a spare and yet almost a poetic sensibility. Like his sentences are very brief, but they are completely alive with meaning. And there is not a syllable that is wasted. Everything that can be removed has been stripped out, and we are left with the bare expression of the story. And so much of it has to take place in our own mind. Like we have to imagine so much. You know, we don't know these characters' names. We know that the boy has blonde hair because the father has to wash it and cut it at a certain point. We know about what they are wearing because eventually what they're wearing becomes too absolutely filthy and they have to make new clothes from whatever they can find. The scenes where they are filtering the water to make it a little bit cleaner to drink is unimaginable. If you have a taste for post-apocalyptic literature, I've never read anything better. It's really a horror story. It's amazing that we have so much hope in spite of the situation being completely bleak. Like the future is absolutely barren. Like at one point they are sleeping and the boy wakes up terrified because there's this horrible noise, and what is happening is all of the trees are falling over because the trees are all dead, which is another point in favor of the nuclear explanation. It's definitely nuclear war. Don't let anyone tell you that it's, you know, we're not sure because it's not. It's definitely nuclear war. All the animals are dead. All the trees are falling over dead. It's nuclear war. The snow is all ashy because of there's no sun. You know, the sky is just permanently gray. We've ruined the atmosphere. Okay, so please read The Road. Maybe read it in the summertime. If you live in one of the hot places on earth, it's a great book to read because it will cool you down better than air conditioning. I honestly felt physically cold when I was reading this, and it was in the middle of summer in Budapest, which is a very hot city to be in July. And I think this is a book you need to read more than once. You may not want to read it more than once, but I didn't find it as depressing as a lot of people have said. Heavy, bleak, hard-going, but it's just a book, and it is hopeful. We do hope that something good is coming on the horizon. Probably not, but hope is the thing, that it's not having it, it's hoping for it. And those are very different things. It's a great book to read because you can really appreciate what it would be like if this beautiful, comfortable world in which we live came to an end and we all had to forage for our survival, like how quickly we would turn into barbarians, cannibals, killers. It would happen shamefully fast. If you're a bit paranoid, this is not the book for you, but it is a book that will really make you appreciate the comforts of life, because we are surrounded by comforts. Like when you go to your closet and you have a selection of clothes to wear, when you go to your refrigerator and you've got a surplus of things to enjoy, life is fantastic. You will feel that when you read this book. This is Grant Loves Books. My name is Grant. I hope you will read The Road. If you've read it, read it again and ask yourself, is the little boy real? Because I say no. It might make the book extra particularly pessimistic, but I do think that. Okay, take care.